Do you remember your first time with another human being?
My first time doing what?
Being sexually intimate with another human being? Are you surprised?
That's shocking. I didn't realise it was this kind of thing.
Stop!
I feel like the story that I tell myself about the first time with another human being isn't necessarily the actual first time. You know, because we have this narrative of like losing your virginity and that being the first thing that is counted as a young woman to your sexuality and your first time. But actually, if I like look back, there were lots of other like smaller times and like moments of intimacy and like sexual like exchanges or things happening that weren't necessarily like sex. It wasn't like I had sex. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let me just think if I can think of the first of those times, because like my first time having actual like penetrative sex isn't necessarily like a good time that I feel like reliving.
Oh, I feel you. I feel you so much.
Really?
I wouldn't talk about that. Although it was the first like technical first time for me, but it's just so not nice. It was not intimate. It was not pleasurable. It was just I kind of wanted to tick the box because everyone around me was doing stuff.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to reclaim that in terms of intimate moments and actual connection I had with other human beings. I remember playing, what's that game when you spin the bottle?
Spin the bottle?
Oh shit. Why am I like that? It's always like this.
So good.
God damn. But yeah, we were playing spin the bottle. And I matched with this guy. I think I was 14 at the time. And we just kissed, because that was the thing that we were supposed to do. It was a soft kiss, no tongue. And I felt something. It was not sexual, it was really sweet and affectionate somehow, although I didn't even know the guy. But I thought, oh my god, this is my first kiss. No one knows, no one knew, I didn't tell anyone. But I have a very sweet memory of that. So, it could be one of my moments.
That is sweet.
Spin the bottle.
I feel like that was probably quite a lot of people's first strokes with sexuality. Also, what was 7 Minutes in Heaven, where you got sent off into like a cupboard with someone? I feel like that was very like Americanized.
Oh, it reminds me of Short Bus. Have you ever watched it?
I have watched Short Bus.
Yeah, when they sit in a closet and talk about trauma. I love talking about trauma. That came out wrong. It's not what we do. I love talking about things that made me who I am. I guess. Trauma is one of them.
Yeah, you like conversations that go to a deeper level than just everything that's rosy and nice.
I know. Yeah.
We can't ignore our trauma. It's part of this, isn't it?
Can you remember any of those moments for yourself?
I'm trying to think of a positive one.
Oh damn! It doesn't have to be with someone else. It can be just by yourself as well. I think it's very valuable.
Something that comes to mind is like, as a child almost, like playing games with other female friends that involved some sort of like reason to touch each other or to like kiss, like playing doctors, for example, and like mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and being like really quite young and doing that and just being like, okay, now it's time for you to give me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
It's very sweet.
It's very sweet, and yeah, in hindsight, it's like, I guess those are like my first like experiences.
But is it because you're applying some sexual meaning to it now? Or was it actually because you had some feelings at the time?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess sexual perhaps isn't the correct word. It's more of like a curiosity about bodies and about connecting with other people or other, you know, peers, rather than it being like explicitly sexual, because not having that understanding of like what a kiss means, I guess, at that age.
Would you say that you saw it somewhere, or adults do that, or media, or whatever?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, and then you're like, what if I do that kind of thing?
Yeah, I know what that feels like.
I felt nothing. Or, this was weird. I remember my first proper kiss with someone I was going with at the time. I was fucking 14 still, so not feeling sexual at all. I did have curiosity around femme presenting bodies, like cis femme presenting bodies at the time. But because there was no much representation, it was a little bit too weird. I definitely had those moments with my girl friends that we were just exploring whatever. Yeah. But anyway, I was going with this guy and we kissed in the park at night. And all I could think of was ashtray. Because he smoked so much and my mouth was so dry.
Wow.
And he put like 3 meters of tongue in my throat.
Yes.
I was
always
like,
with the tongue.
What's wrong? Like, stop. Like, what? So, yeah. And I was like, I'm not feeling anything. I didn't feel, it was not disgusting either. It was just, what is the fuss? Like,
yeah, what is this all about? Like, why do people do this? Why are they so obsessed with this?
It's nonsense.
I definitely remember that about most of my first kisses as well. Like, I remember my friend took me on a little like weekend with her family to go visit her family in Ireland, and we stayed with her like uncle and cousin on a farm, and the cousin, who was like maybe like a year older than me or like 2 years older, took me out on his quad bike one day into the fields.
So romantic.
So romantic. It's like something out of a novel. And like lifted me off the bike and then just like kissed me, and I just remember like so much tongue in my mouth and just being like, what is happening? Like, I'm bored with this, but I'm so confused. Like, is this meant to feel good? Like, it just felt really like wet and full and like forceful of tongue.
It's exactly what was happening.
It was exactly what was happening. I was probably just there like quite passive, just like God. And then we just quad biked back to the house, and I had to go and like watch a movie with the family, just like sitting there with those feelings of like, well, that's kissing. God. Yeah. That's so silly that young people have to go through that. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of okay when people are figuring things out. You're not supposed to feel things necessarily. But it's because we have this representation of shit, and then we go and try it, and we're like, oh. So if we had, I guess, if we had more representation of different things, we could pick from better examples and then craft them based on our own desires and whatnot. Definitely. I remember one of the kisses from TV that really stuck with me and like really like ignited something in me was a program called Sugar Rush.
Okay.
I think I've actually just told you about this before. And basically, like, most teenage girls in the mid-2000s in the UK probably will have seen this. And it's about a schoolgirl, she's like 15, who has a massive crush, and she's basically like in love with her best friend, who's also a girl. And the opening scene is them on the waltzers, like this like blur of light and them like kissing. And then it turns out that it's just the girl fantasizing and it didn't really happen.
Oh, okay.
But I just remember...
Story of my life. I love fantasizing about intimacy. It's, like, as a child even, I really enjoyed that. But yeah.
Lost so many
Finish
hours.
your story.
I just remember, like, it always stuck with me, like, the way their, like, tongues touched, and it just looked so, like, adult and like sensual, and just looking at it and being like, wow, like I want to experience that, and probably with a girl as well. Like, I feel like it was my bisexual awakening.
Oh yeah, oh my god, the softness of the tongue when you can just explore, you know,
Yeah.
and not.
Oh, like so opposite to those actual first experiences.
It's just also so counterintuitive to just go for it like that rather than step into it softly and see the person's response. It's just people don't listen. Kids especially, but I feel like still nowadays sometimes people just do things that they think you're gonna enjoy instead of maybe trying just a little bit and seeing the response and then crafting a story together in bed or whatnot.
Yeah, I feel like as a teenager, like quite a lot of the time people are you're coming from a sense of urgency and like just like getting into it and experiencing something and just like doing it, and you don't have like the context of sensuality or like, I don't know, you have no idea about like just the pace of an experience, do you? It's all just about like doing it and feeling it. It's like, oh, here's a person who wants to kiss me.
Literally. Oh, it feels like sand and ashtray.
Not the ashtray. It's so unfortunate.
That was so strange. I will never forget that. And it's been a few years now. 15, 16, I think it was, 17 years ago?
Wow. Yeah, like mine would be about the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
17 years of kissing.
Wow, when you put it that way. Oh my god, the experience.
Wow. We're nearly at our 2-decade anniversary. To celebrate with a kiss.
If I could remember the first day like the date of the spin the bottle kiss, I would definitely celebrate it.
Did you ever like write a diary or anything around that time?
I did have a diary. I don't think I ever journaled about my sexuality though, for some reason.
I've got a really embarrassing memory.
Okay.
But I had this like fluffy Winnie the Pooh diary that I would keep like write entries into.
Yeah.
And it was like before I'd even had a kiss or had like any romantic or like interest or anything like that. And I guess I was just like, I think my friends had started to kiss and started to do those things, so I was like writing in the diary as if I had. And my parents found it.
No. So they thought they didn't.
Yes!
Which is still none of their business.
It's still none of their business. I think I just remember like being in the car and like having it and like my mum and my stepdad taking it off me and like reading it and then being like no escape from this just like
why
really
would people
horrifically awkward moment.
That's so intrusive.
It's so intrusive. I completely agree. Like in hindsight, it's like
Jesus Christ.
Probably got some like things to work through in therapy actually from that.
We all do. I don't know if my mom ever read any of my journals. I don't think it was easy to understand. It was all quite, really bad handwriting, but also very abstract. From the very young age, I started developing the craft of writing so that I could hide the feelings underneath a bit more.
Wow.
So I was becoming poetic out of need, out of necessity, and not because of inspiration. And then, where are we going with this?
Poetic out of necessity. That's
poetic.
You're doing it again.